All right. Welcome, everybody. It's April 5th. This is a meeting of the Education Subcommittee of the Ways and Means Committee. We have one bill on our agenda for today, and that bill is Senate Bill 610, which is I would call it the virtual education bill. This is a bill that has been being worked on for several years. It was originally motivated by the COVID closures of schools, but has expanded. It has three major areas. I'm going to describe them quickly, and then I'm going to talk about some amendments. I hope that we can take the amendments as a package, but we can separate them out if someone feels the need to. The bill has three major sections. I don't know what order they're in, but in my mind, section 1 addresses the concept of virtual school on daily closures due to weather, like a snow day, for example, turning to a virtual day and having that count as a school day. Section 2 actually sets up a structure for full-time virtual schools in the state of Maryland. And section 3 addresses what the procedures will be in the event of an emergency closure, an extended emergency closure. We have amendments on a couple of parts of the bill. I'm going to address amendments on the weather virtual part first. One of the concepts there is that teachers will be expected to teach synchronous learning on a weather closure day. As a teacher, and from advice from other teacher groups, you cannot just sort of flip the switch and begin teaching a synchronous lesson when you had an in-person lesson planned previously. So we are going to ask for an amendment that would allow for the collective bargaining agent to bargain start times for synchronous learning. For example, not in our bill, but for example, a collective bargaining agent could bargain that a teacher wouldn't have to begin synchronous learning until, say, 11 a.m. or a number of hours after the announcement comes, so that the teacher would have time to prepare a meaningful lesson. No one argues that a synchronous lesson day may not be as good as in person, as we've all learned, but it would certainly exceed what happens on June 28th when we still have school and it's the end of the school year. So we're looking for a good solution, but we want to make sure that the instruction is meaningful. The other one is that if we have a closure due to weather, that day will not be made up in person. And there are a number of people, educational support personnel, who will lose a day of work, and many of them are paid hourly or daily. And so we want to put an amendment in saying that a school system will have to offer them an assignment, and them an assignment that will make them whole financially. That is, they could say, over the summer, we can have you come in and help file folders for us if you want to. This is just an example, but they could offer them work. And they could take it so that they could, because many of these people are earning salaries that have them living on the edge. That would make them whole in terms of money. They would not have to take it, but the county would have to offer it. We're going to say that they have to offer it by the beginning of the next school year. So that would allow for summer offerings in that particular case. On the virtual schools, one of the provisions in the virtual school bill, and this bill, as I say, has been vetted pretty carefully, is that a virtual school cannot subsume more than 10% of a county's entire school population. I want to thank Delegate Miller for bringing in a concept forward that we're going to offer as an amendment here, that should a school system's population drop year over year so that the population of the school exceeded 10%, there would be no need to remove students from that school to bring it down to the 10%. There's be a number of problems there. First of all, who do you kick out? And that would be a bad one right there. There is an appeals process for school systems already to go over 10%, but this would be outside of the appeals process. It would be automatic that they could go over 10% with the students who are currently enrolled in the school, should that situation happen. One of the other things that's going on with virtual schools is some counties, because of economy of size, will be interested in forming consortiums. There is already an existing consortium in the state. One of the things that we want to put in there to add fluency is that if a consortium of counties decides to get together to form a virtual school, that they do it by picking a lead school. That lead school would then basically set, with, of course, input policies for things like scheduling, grading, discipline, things like that. Some of those are written in other parts of the bill, but they would sort of be the lead county, so it would avoid confusion. You know, a simple example would be if one school is giving off for Hanukkah, but another is not, That could cause a great deal of confusion in the virtual school. So the lead county would set that policy. That would be an example. And finally, the system of establishing a virtual school is that a county can establish a virtual school itself, or a nonprofit can apply for the county to have one. The county will then go to MSDE and make the application. MSDE can deny that application based on a number of factors. We are putting in an appeals process there that would allow that school system and that nonprofit together to appeal to the state board, where there would be a public hearing on the denial to find reasons and possibly overturn it. The third part of the bill is the bill on extended closures. This part is pretty neat and tidy. It was the original reason for the bill. It was written with a great deal of thought. There's a lot of planning necessary in there that counties have to do because obviously we were unprepared in 2020, and a number of holes and gaps existed in what school systems were ready to do, what teachers were ready to do, and what students and parents were ready to do. And so that one, I have no particular amendments to offer. And with that, Alistair, I'm always turn to you to ask if I have misrepresented or not been thorough enough on anything or missed an amendment.
I think you got the amendments excellently, sir.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the amendments? All right. I'd be happy to take a motion on them if no one wants to discuss. Delegate Wu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have one question. When I look at the amendment, it only focuses on the weather related. I'm wondering if there's a situation, there's no power, right? But it's not related to weather, but the whole school system lost the power.
Right.
I want to include that kind of situation as well.
I don't think we have the word weather. I use that as my word. Alistair, you want to tell us how it's characterized, please?
Yes, it is weather exclusively. And the way that this is implemented is that at first, at least, school systems are going to have to use all the days that they have built into their schedule to accommodate things like that. So hopefully, if there is a power outage for a day, that'll be, the school systems typically build in a few days that they can shut down schools and stuff. So if those days are all used up and there is an inclement weather event, then the virtual school days are triggered. I think the idea is to start a little bit slow with this and to not take out the existing structure entirely, but I think that might be in the future a decent idea.
Okay, so your point, like, we're now only focused on weather related, not other emerging situation, like lost the power for a few days, or maybe there's cyber attack and they couldn't access the instructions.
Typically, a weather outage, a power outage like that, typically, not exclusively, would be due to weather. And I think then that would probably fit. You know, we could have a situation where the power was shut off maliciously, and there are examples, but I think that we're not going to go there right now.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions on the amendments? We're not really on the bill. We're just on the amendments right now, but we can discuss the bill after we take a look at the amendments.
Quick question.
Yes, Delegate Wilkins. Vice Chair Wilkins, how you doing today?
Thank you, Delegate, and thank you, Mr. Subcommittee Chair, actually, for all of your work on this bill. I know it's been a yeoman's work in the Senate and over here in the House. I just have a quick question. I want to check, are we basically killing snow days for students to be able to stay at home on a snow day? I just want to.
What will happen here is school systems currently still build in snow days. And if they have them in their schedule, 180 days, a lot of school systems have 183 days built into their schedule. They have to use those first. Now, there exists the possibility that county systems will begin assigning fewer and fewer of those if this works out for them. So the answer is maybe.
The bill explicitly states that you have to use your built-in days first. So it sort of assumes a world in which those days will continue to be built, but we don't want to dictate the policies of each individual county, I think.
Got it. Okay, because I'm pro snow days for the kids. Right. I move favorable on the amendments.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion on the amendments? Okay, seeing none, if we could camera on there, Delegate Hornberger, so we can see your hand, raise your hand if you're in favor of the amendments, please. And if you're opposed. Okay, Delegate Fair is opposed to the amendments.
I'm not, I'm for. I'm sorry. I think my camera is acting up this
I
morning.
was a little shocked. I was like, you didn't say anything. I was like, okay, but yes, you are. You're moving a little slowly. We'll let you put your hand up. Okay, next time.
Thank you. I might do a voice call on my vote just to be
Yeah,
safe.
we can certainly hear you. That's working out fine.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've adopted the amendments. Are there
Mr.
any
Chair,
other?
there's a question in the chat. Do you want to reply to that?
No,
Okay.
only if you're interested in having it addressed. This is not a hearing, and so I appreciate that that some of the advocates are here. They're here for informational purposes only. Delegate Wu, I will offer, if that question is one that you want addressed, I would be happy to do so. Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay. I believe it's a reference to pre-K, and this bill does not allow for virtual, the permanent virtual school that we're talking about in pre-K or kindergarten at this point. We've eliminated those from a possibility there. All right, on the bill.
Move favorable as amended.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I see seconds. Any further discussion? Yes, Delegate Miller.
Just real quick on where it was talking about if the county
I forgot an
super.
amendment. I forgot an amendment. You've
Oh.
reminded me, but go ahead. I'm just saying that. We have to add one more.
Okay. So I just was looking at where if the county superintendent decides to provide a virtual education day, and then it says the school principal who receives the notice of the virtual education day immediately shall notify the students, parents, and school staff of the implementation of the virtual education day. That doesn't supersede the superintendent from providing the information about that it will be a virtual school day.
I read that too. I read that as that made sure that the information got through. We're silent on the superintendent, and I can't believe that they're not going to put it up on a website that school is closed and it's a virtual day. But I think to make sure the information was received, principals have more direct lines of communication with the student body. So I think we're adding in a layer rather than subsuming one there.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because the principals are not going to want to be in charge of that decision.
Right.
So, all right, thank you.
All right, on the bill, the amendment, I will tell you, we can do it real quick, was that Delegate Miller had suggested that we put in, there's a work group study at the end of the bill, and that we put in some language asking them to look at the inter-county, any inter-county cooperation to see what the infrastructure and effectiveness of that might be. And so we're going to go ahead and add that too. I'm going to say without objection, we'll put that amendment in there. Okay, and I see none. So we'll add that amendment as well. Now, on the bill as amended, I assume that Delegate Wilkins is still favorable since she didn't was not against amendment, and Delegate Vogel was still seconded. On the bill as amended, any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the bill as amended, please raise your hands, or in your case, Delegate Fair, just yell in yes.
Yes.
Okay, and I see it as unanimous. And so we will carry this bill to voting in Ways and Means. I thank you all for your time and see you on the floor.